that you enjoy. A quick thank you to the T5 peeps, Bob the Dragon, Datamagnet, Cat Crab Lobster, DuckMachine, Astraya the Dreamer, Mezec, Feudic Jarl, and Casper Arnholtz. Thank you very much. Story number 1. Until It Is Done, written by Wyvern590. Rip and tear, rip and tear, rip and tear, they chanted, punctuating each thunderous shot with a rhythmic march, shaking the stadium with their power. The atmosphere turned electric as the opposing crowds grew in volume until the entire stadium vibrated with an energy known only to warriors before battle. The chanting of the humans and the shrieking of my people became pandemonium with a collision of champions. Flesh and blood, bone and viscera erupted from the violence of the human champion as he ripped and tore through the seemingly fragile army arrayed before him. The protective barrier separating the crowd from the carnage below took a red tint from the blood-saturated air within. The pits turned into pools as it rained the blood of my champions. Minutes passed, then an hour, and then the human champion stood undaunted and undiminished in strength. My own people began to chant, "Rip and tear! Rip and tear!" There were a few of the champions left, yet the crowd clamored for more blood. As a generous emperor I am, I obliged them. Waving my aid over, I commanded, "Release them all." She bowed and spoke into a communicator. Not a moment after the human champion had slain the last, had another wave erupting from the gates. As the titanic force of my champions closed in, he drew a small, flashy object from an unseen place. Suddenly, a magnificent crimson blade bloomed to life before my very eyes. The carnage continued. Uncountable bodies sacrificed to this mighty warrior. Many bowed in reverence to this god of war. Even I felt humbled in the presence of such power. But soon it was done, and the human champion stood alone on a field of bodies. End of story. Story number 2. The Sudden Meeting, written by FatedApollo. Robert Bob Wilkins wiped the oil and grease off of his hands. He stood up straight and inspected his masterpiece. Or a fully functioning gravity unit, but Bob felt that was splitting hairs. He had convinced the captain to not replace it, and instead he had squeezed another month out of it, and it was still going. But now, he reminded himself, it would need to be changed to the next checker, but they would save money. The last place was far from any large pallets and stations, so the prices went up accordingly. While he was relatively new to the ship, he had only been here for 3 months, he felt that it was good to start on the right foot. Saving the captain money, he felt, was the right direction. He grabbed his tools and walked out of engineering. The corridor outside was eerily empty. It was shift change, and the usually meant crew buzzing, scurrying, or slithering about. Not that he was too familiar with the crew. They seemed friendly enough. They greeted him politely and listened to his suggestions, but he had no idea what they thought about him. He was first human on the ship, so he had thought that they just needed time to adjust. That might still be the case. His co-workers in engineering were very friendly, at least. He heard a faint buzzing and saw one insectoid crew member flying around the corner. Strange, Bob muttered, and checked the message and saw nothing. He walked over to his office to stash his tools. Just as he stashed his tools and got out of the overalls, his phone beeped. Incoming message from Captain Srikitu, subject meeting. Robert, please come to the cafeteria at 1900 Earth time. End of message. Uh-oh, Bob said. What have I done? He quickly looked through the maintenance orders on his desk, but nothing was that pressing or life-threatening. He scratched his head and glanced at his watch. He had just a few minutes to go to the meeting, whatever it was about. He straightened his clothes and rubbed away the grease spots on his cheek, and then took a deep breath and walked to the cafeteria. It was packed. Almost every crewman was here, apart from some that were required on other stations. Everyone was quiet and turned as he walked in. Multifaceted eyes without pupils, eyes with too many pupils, they all stared at him. It's an intervention, isn't it? Bob thought to himself. But I don't drink that much, do I? Welcome, Robert, Captain Shrakitu said and stepped forward, the claws on his short legs clacking against the floor, his arms clasped behind him. Oh, crap. I have gravely insulted someone, haven't I? Bob was beginning to sweat. Why do I always have to tell stupid jokes, and most probably don't understand them, but they seem so friendly. I am glad you joined us. How's the gravity generator doing? The captain asked. He seemed almost nervous. Good, Bob said, looking around. It works fine. We still need to replace it at the next checkup, he said, glancing nervously around the room. Good, the captain said. He focused his large pupilless eyes on Bob. This sort of thing is new to us, you see. We are not sure how to approach it. Uh-oh, Bob thought. What could be new to half a dozen different aliens? He braced himself for the news that he was fired or his rum was being confiscated. You see, you're the first human on this ship, the captain continued. Yeah, Bob said, feeling that he needed to contribute to the conversation. And I hope that we got this right, the captain said, nodding. What? Bob asked. The captain stepped aside. The crew split in the middle. On the table were a few different hastily wrapped packages and a lopsided cake. We have never had a human birthday before, the captain said. I hope we didn't miscalculate the dates. No, it's correct, Bob said. He'd almost forgotten himself. He stared at the cake that dropped to the one side and looked to be melting. It looked dangerously close to tipping over. He suddenly felt emotional and blinked and rubbed at his eyes as he was tearing up. Thank you. Are you feeling distressed? The doc said. Bob could not pronounce his name and just used Doc, which suited both of them fine. He looked like a snake with 6 tentacles for arms. No, Bob sniffed. Distressing humans comfort with words or physical contact, a crew member said from the back. The insectoid was reading out of a pamphlet. What? Bob said, confused. Wait, there are pamphlets in humans. Doc nodded to the crewman. Yes, that is the proper course of action. He slithered up and wrapped his tentacles around Bob's waist. Are you feeling, comforted? No, I'm not Bob began. The captain walked up and patted Bob's shoulder. There, he said. Bob's 2 co-workers hugged a leg each. They both resembled the name engineers and environmental technicians got on human ships, which meant that they looked like moles, though a bit taller and with better vision. Are you feeling better, Robert? Doc asked. Bob was not exactly feeling bad in the first place, but he smiled. Yes, I am. I have to say, this is the strangest birthday I've ever had. Oh no, we messed something up, the captain said, and turned to his assistant. What do we miss? No, Bob started, realizing his mistake. Quickly check the notes. We can make adjustments, he said. It's fine, it's just, don't worry, we'll fix it. Just remain comforted, Doc said, still not letting go. We know we had to improvise the presents. We discovered the birthday celebrations after leaving the previous port, the captain said, and patted Bob's shoulder again. I apologize. Bob sighed and smiled. Don't worry, I'm comforted. Thanks, guys. This means a lot. Now, can you let me go, and we can go enjoy the cake before the floor claims it, he said. Can I see the pamphlet, by the way? He asked as a crew member from the kitchen gently nudged the cake further from the edge. Bob was eventually released and everyone sat down. More cakes were brought out from the kitchen to suit every species, no doubt. He got handed the pamphlet and opened it. It was one of the flexible screens that showed several subcategories. The feelings tab was open with crying highlighted, with various summaries and vague descriptions underneath. Going through it all and making adjustments would be a lot of hours of work. I need a drink, Bob said. Oh, speaking about alcohol consumption, Doc said. Oh, Bob said. End of story. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you do, please consider supporting the author, even by popping over and leaving a thumbs up or a nice comment, just to show your appreciation for the story. However, if you wish to support this channel, there are links down below which will help immensely. I will see you all in the next one, and until then, I hope that you have a fantastic day. Cheers.